Let me tell you something about the day the galaxy lost its collective mind. My name is Krell'thar and I have served the Galactic Council for 347 years. I have witnessed supernovas, negotiated peace treaties between species that communicate through radioactive emissions, and once sat through a 14-hour presentation on tax reform in the Andromeda sector. I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. It started on a Tuesday. Well, what humans call Tuesday. We don't really do days of the week when you're governing 17,000 star systems, but the humans insist on tracking these things, and honestly it makes the paperwork slightly less insufferable. Emperor Zalcor was dead. Now Zalcor was old. I mean really old. He had been ruling since before Earth figured out fire was useful for more than accidentally burning down forests. His death was not unexpected. What was unexpected, catastrophically unexpected, was what happened next. The Imperial Chamber was packed. Every species, every delegate, every minor bureaucrat who could squeeze through the doors was there. The air recyclers were working overtime trying to handle 73 different atmospheric requirements. The Metherian ambassador kept complaining about the oxygen levels. The silicate representatives were literally cracking under the pressure. It was, in a word, chaos. The succession is clear, announced Chancellor Vrim, his voice booming through the translation matrix. According to the ancient laws, the crown passes to the nearest qualified heir of noble blood, as determined by the sacred registry of— There is a problem, interrupted Magistrate Yeneth. She was a Quantari, which meant she had approximately 9 brains working simultaneously, and all 9 of them looked deeply concerned. This was not good. The sacred registry, she continued, her voice dropping to what I can only describe as mortified, has identified an heir. Relief swept through the chamber. Crisis averted. We would have a new emperor, business as usual, and I could get back to my very important work of making sure the galaxy did not implode. The heir, Yeneth said slowly, is human. Silence. Complete, total, absolute silence. Then, pandemonium. What? I bellowed, my vocal sacs inflating to 3 times their normal size. That is impossible. Humans have been part of the council for barely 200 years. They are barely spacefaring. They still think reality television is entertainment. Yeneth pulled up the documentation. Holographic screens filled the chamber. Ancient text written in Proto-Galactic scrolled before our horrified eyes. 217 years ago, she explained, Emperor Zalcor participated in what humans call poker. He was visiting Earth Station 7. During this game, he wagered and lost a minor title, the title of Duke of the Outer Rim Territories. So, demanded the Dreknor representative. So Yeneth continued, looking like she wanted to throw herself out of an airlock. According to subsection 7, paragraph 4012 of the Imperial Succession Act, any holder of a ducal title, if of sound mind and body, who has rendered service to the Empire, qualifies as potential heir. But surely, I started. The human who won that title, Yeneth interrupted, was named Thomas Webb. The title passed to his son, then to his grandson. The current holder is Marcus Webb, age 32, resident of Earth. Occupation, bartender. Bartender? The word exploded from my mouth. He also, Yeneth added with the air of someone actively giving up on life, once helped repair a trade station, which technically counts as service to the Empire. I stared at the documentation. Surely there was a loophole. There had to be a loophole. We were the Galactic Council. We had loopholes for our loopholes. Can we not simply ignore this? Suggested Chancellor Vrim weakly. The sacred registry is automated, Yeneth replied. It has already sent notification. The human has been contacted. He accepted. He what? Apparently, his exact words were, "Cool, sounds fun. When do I start?" I slumped in my seat. My career, my carefully organized life, my entire understanding of how the universe worked, all of it was crumbling. The galaxy, I realized with creeping horror, was about to be ruled by a human bartender. We were doomed. The human arrived 3 days later. I had spent those 3 days attempting to prepare the Imperial Palace for what I assumed would be a dignified, if awkward, transition of power. I arranged 17 different translators. I prepared a comprehensive briefing on galactic governance that only took 9 hours to present. I even had the ceremonial tentacles properly sanitized. Then Marcus Webb walked through the palace doors wearing cargo pants and a shirt that read, "I paused my game to be here,"
"Hey,"
he said, waving cheerfully at the assembled honor guard. "This place is huge. Do you guys have a bathroom?" That shuttle ride was like 6 hours. The captain of the guard, a decorated Thorian warrior who had served 4 emperors, looked at me with an expression that clearly said, "Please tell me this is a joke." It was not a joke. "Your Majesty," I began, trying to salvage some dignity from this situation. "Welcome to the Imperial Palace. We have prepared—" "Dude, you can just call me Marcus," he interrupted, scratching his head. "Your Majesty sounds like something from a theme park." "It is your title," I said through clenched mandibles. "Yeah, but it is weird," Marcus replied. He looked around the throne room, taking in the vaulted ceilings, the priceless artifacts from 10,000 civilizations, with the floating orbs of concentrated starlight. "Nice setup, though. Very what is the word majestic? Yeah, majestic." The coronation was scheduled for the following morning. I spent that evening going over the ceremony with Marcus, or rather attempting to. The human had the attention span of a Regalian fruit fly. "So I wear the tentacles," Marcus said, holding up the ceremonial appendages with obvious distaste. "And then what? I stand there for 3 hours while everyone chants." "It is tradition," I explained. "The ceremonial tentacles represent the reach of the empire across the stars. The chanting is—" "Yeah, I am going to pass on that," Marcus said, dropping the tentacles back into their case. "You cannot pass on tradition. Watch me." The coronation ceremony began at dawn. Every news feed in the galaxy was broadcasting. Trillions of beings were watching. This was history. Marcus Webb walked out in khaki cargo pants, the same shirt from yesterday, and sneakers. The gas could be heard across 3 sectors. "Citizens of the galaxy," began High Priestess Krell'thar, her 17 eyes wide with shock. "We gather to witness the ascension of the new—" "I am sorry, is he wearing sneakers?" "They are comfortable," Marcus called out cheerfully. "The ceremonial tentacles," I hissed from the side of the stage. "Not happening, Krell," Marcus replied. "Those things smell weird. They are blessed by the cosmic ancients. Then the cosmic ancients need to discover detergent." The ceremony lurched forward. Marcus was supposed to sit on the eternal throne, a magnificent seat carved from a single piece of neutron star material, inscribed with the names of every emperor for the past 1,000,000 years. Instead, Marcus had brought his own chair. "What?" I said slowly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is that?" "It is a lazy boy," Marcus said proudly. "Got it from my apartment. Way more comfortable than that stone thing. Look, it reclines." He demonstrated, the chair tilted back with a mechanical whir. "That is the eternal throne," I exploded. "Emperors have sat upon it since before your species learned to walk upright." "Yeah, and I bet every single one of them had back problems," Marcus replied. "I am not spending my reign with a herniated disc." High Priestess Krell'thar looked at me. I looked at Chancellor Vrim. Chancellor Vrim looked at the ceiling as if hoping the cosmic ancients would smite us all and end this nightmare. "Just," I said, defeated, "just crown him." The crown was placed on Marcus's head. It was too large. It slipped down over his eyes. Guys?" His muffled voice came from beneath the artifact. "I cannot see. Can we get this in a smaller size?" "It is the Imperial crown," I shouted. "It does not come in sizes." "Well, that is just poor design," Marcus said, pushing the crown back up. "Someone should have thought about that." And so, as trillions watched in horror, fascination, or in my case, complete existential despair, Marcus Webb became emperor of the known galaxy. Sitting in a reclining chair, wearing cargo pants, with a crown that did not fit. I poured myself a very large drink that night. It would not be my last. The first real crisis came exactly 1 week into Marcus's reign. The Draknor Collective, a military powerhouse that had been spoiling for a fight since before I was hatched, decided to test the new emperor. Their message was delivered via Gen Armada positioned at the edge of Imperial space, which is generally considered poor diplomatic etiquette. "The Draknor demand tribute," I translated, reading the message for Marcus. "They say a human emperor is an insult to the strong. They give us 48 hours to respond, or they will," and I quote, "crush your pathetic empire beneath our battle claws." I expected panic, fear, perhaps a desperate call to the military high command. Marcus leaned back in his ridiculous chair and laughed. "Are you serious right now?" he said. "They want to start something over hurt feelings." "The Draknor Collective has 6,000 warships," I said urgently. "This is not a joke. We need to convene the council, prepare a diplomatic response, perhaps offer some concessions." "Or," Marcus interrupted, pulling out his communication tablet, "we could just talk to them like normal people." "Normal people?" I repeated. "They are the Draknor Collective. They communicate through threats and violence." "Yeah, so do half the guys at my old bar," Marcus said, typing something. "You just gotta know how to handle them." Before I could stop him, he had opened a direct channel to Warlord Kragath, Supreme Commander of the Draknor fleet. Kragath's face filled the screen. 7 feet of muscle, scales, and barely contained rage. His teeth could puncture battle armor. His claws had personally ended 3 peace negotiations. "Human," Kragath growled. "You dare address me directly." "Yeah, dude," Marcus said casually. "Look, I get it. You are mad because a human is in charge now. That is fair. But threatening to blow stuff up? That is kind of childish. Do not you think?" I stopped breathing. This was it. This was how the galaxy ended. Kragath's eyes narrowed. "Childish." "Yeah," Marcus continued. "Like if you have a problem with me, let us settle this like adults. You wish to challenge me to combat?" Kragath's mandibles clicked with anticipation. "Nah," Marcus said. "I was thinking something better. A competition. You, me, 3 events. Winner gets bragging rights and we all move on with our lives." There was a long pause. Kragath looked confused. I was confused. The entire bridge crew monitoring the call looked confused. "What sort of competition?" Kragath asked slowly. "Eating contest, trivia, and arm wrestling," Marcus replied. "Best 2 out of 3 wins." "This is absurd," I interjected. "Warlord Kragath, please excuse the Emperors. He is new. We can offer proper tribute." "I accept," Kragath said. "You what?" I shrieked. "The human shows courage," Kragath declared. "We will meet on neutral ground. Tomorrow." The channel closed. I turned to Marcus, my vocal sacs quivering with panic. "Do you have any idea what you have just done?" "Solved our problem," Marcus suggested. "You have challenged the most feared warrior in 7 sectors to contests that make no strategic sense." "Krell, buddy," Marcus said, patting my shoulder appendage. "Trust me." I did not trust him. I trusted nothing about this situation. The next day we arrived at the designated neutral station. The Draknor had brought what appeared to be their entire military command as spectators. We had brought Marcus, myself, and a medical team that I insisted accompany us. The eating competition went first. "This is Thorjan Fireroot," the referee announced. "Capable of melting through steel plating. Whoever eats the most wins." Kragath consumed 3 roots without blinking. Marcus ate 4, tears streaming down his face, his skin turning an alarming shade of red. "Oh man," he gasped between bites. "This is like that hot sauce challenge I did in college. Totally worth it." The Draknor warriors murmured with what I realized was respect. Next came trivia. "What is the capital of the Andromeda sector?" asked the referee. "Trick question," Marcus said immediately. "Andromeda sector has a rotating capital system. Current location is Station Primaris 7. Kragath growled, but nodded. The human was correct. They traded answers back and forth. Ancient history, military tactics, surprisingly human popular culture which Kragath somehow knew extensively. "The Draknor watch your Earth movies," Kragath admitted. "They are entertaining." It came down to the final round, arm wrestling. Kragath's arm was literally twice the size of Marcus's entire torso. This was going to be a massacre. They gripped hands. The referee counted down. 3, 2, 1, go. Kragath pushed. Marcus's arm did not move. "Dude," Marcus said, straining, "is that all you got?" "You. What? How?" Kragath's eyes widened. "Earth has 1.3 times standard gravity," Marcus grunted. "We are basically working out every single day just by existing." Slowly, impossibly, Marcus pushed Kragath's arm down. The station went silent. Then Kragath started laughing, deep, booming laughter that shook the deck plates. "The human is strong," he declared. "Small, but strong. Like a compressed star." He stood, raising Marcus's arm in victory. "The Dreknor Collective pledges alliance to Emperor Webb." "Cool," Marcus said, wincing and shaking out his arm. "Want to grab lunch? I know a great taco place on Earth Station 3. "What is taco?" "Oh man, you are going to love this." I watched, completely numb, as the greatest military threat in the sector became best friends with our Emperor over handheld Earth food. The galaxy, I realized, was not going to make any sense anymore. And somehow that was working. The Dreknor incident should have been a warning sign. Instead, I foolishly assumed it was a lucky accident, a one-time occurrence where Marcus's bizarre human approach somehow stumbled into success. I convinced myself that surely, he would settle into normal governance procedures. I was once again catastrophically wrong. It started with the trade agreements. The Interstellar Commerce Treaty of Sector 9 was a masterpiece of diplomatic engineering. 4,000 pages, 273 subsections, clauses within clauses. It had taken 600 years to negotiate and represented the careful balance of 17 different economic systems. Marcus read the first page, made a face, and said, "This is ridiculous." "That treaty," I said carefully, "maintains economic stability for 3 billion beings." "Yeah, but does it though?" Marcus pulled up the actual trade data. "Look, 70% of these regulations are just stuff people added to sound important. The actual trade, people are already ignoring half these rules and everything is working fine. You cannot simply—" "New treaty," Marcus announced, typing on his tablet.
Section 1. Do not cheat each other. Section 2. Pay your bills on time.
Section 3. If you have a problem, talk it out like grown-ups. Done. That is 3 sections. "Yep," Marcus said cheerfully, short enough that people might actually read it. He transmitted it to the Commerce Council. I waited for the outrage, the protests, the inevitable collapse of interstellar trade. Instead, the response came back within an hour. "This is efficient," wrote the Andorian Trade Minister. "We accept these terms." One by one, every member of the Commerce Council agreed. Apparently everyone had been secretly hating the old treaty for centuries but was too invested in tradition to say anything. That was just the beginning. Marcus looked at the imperial bureaucracy the way a human might look at a closet that had not been cleaned in decades, with a mixture of horror and determination. "Okay, what does the Department of Ceremonial Complaints actually do?" he asked, scrolling through organizational charts. "They handle formal grievances about breaches of protocol," I explained. This was my department, my pride and joy. If someone uses the wrong honorific or bows at the incorrect angle, or "So nothing important," Marcus said. "It is extremely important. Protocol is the foundation of civilized society." "Krell, buddy," Marcus said gently. "People are filling out forms in triplicate to complain about salad fork placement. The proper utensil sequence demonstrates respect for—" "Dissolved," Marcus said, hitting a button. "Department closed. Everyone reassigned to, let me see, infrastructure repair. Yeah, we have like 50 bridges that need fixing. That is actually useful. You cannot just—" But he could. He was the Emperor. My life's work, gone with a button press. I might have cried a little, not that I would admit it. Then came casual Fridays. Starting this week, Marcus announced at the Imperial Council meeting, Fridays are casual dress, no formal robes, no ceremonial armor, just wear whatever. Duke Valentor, who had 17 generations of noble lineage, turned purple. "This is an outrage. The Imperial Court has maintained standards of dress for too long," Marcus interrupted. "Look, I get it. You like your fancy robes, but have you noticed that half the junior staff looks miserable? Those ceremonial outfits are expensive. Some of them cost 3 months' salary." "That is the point," Valentor sniffed. "It demonstrates commitment. It demonstrates that we care more about appearances than actual work," Marcus countered. "Casual Fridays, non-negotiable." The nobility was furious. The common workers? They loved it. Within 2 weeks, productivity was up 18%. Turns out people work better when they are comfortable and not bankrupting themselves for the right shade of ceremonial purple. I watched all of this with growing concern. Marcus was dismantling millennia of tradition, replacing complex systems with absurd simplicity, and somehow impossibly it was working. But I remained convinced he was just lucky, that he did not actually understand what he was doing. Then I found him in his office at 3 a.m. "Marcus?" I said, confused. "What are you doing awake?" He looked up from his tablet, and I saw something I had not noticed before. His eyes were tired. Yes, but sharp, focused. "Reading reports," he said simply. I looked at his screen. He was reviewing agricultural output data from the Kepler colonies. Dense, technical analysis. The kind of document most emperors would assign to committees. "You are actually reading that?" I asked. "Yeah," Marcus said, scrolling through charts. "There is a water distribution problem in Sector 7. If we reroute the pipeline from the northern region, we can increase crop yields by 22%. He made some notes. "Also, whoever wrote this report deserves a raise. This is really thorough work." I stared at him. "You have been paying attention this whole time?" Marcus looked up, and for the first time I saw past the casual exterior. "Krell, I know everyone thinks I am just some idiot human who stumbled into power. And yeah, I am definitely not qualified for this by any normal standard. But you know what I learned tending bar for 10 years. "What?" "People are people," he said. "Does not matter if they are human or Thorian or Quantari. Everyone wants the same basic things: to be heard, to be treated fairly, to not have to fill out 17 forms for a simple request. All this complicated protocol, most of it is just people making themselves feel important." He pulled up another report. Infrastructure assessments for the outer colonies. "So yeah," Marcus continued, "I am wearing cargo pants and sitting in a recliner, because that stuff does not matter. What matters is actually doing the job, and the job is making sure 17,000 star systems can function without drowning in their own bureaucracy." I sat down slowly, my understanding of reality shifting once again. "You have been competent this entire time?" "I would not say competent," Marcus said with a slight smile. "I am still figuring this out, but I am trying. I read every report. I listened to every briefing, even the boring ones. I just do it my way." He returned to his tablet, highlighting sections, making notes, actually governing. I left his office quietly. The human emperor, I realized, was not lucky. He was smart enough to know what mattered and what did not. And terrifying enough to actually change things. Maybe, just maybe, we were not doomed after all. Though I still missed my department of ceremonial complaints. The coup attempt came exactly 3 months into Marcus's reign. I should have seen it coming. The old guard, the traditionalists, the noble houses who had been quietly seething since a human in cargo pants took the throne, they were never going to accept this situation peacefully. Lord Thexan made his move during the Grand Assembly. "Emperor Webb," he announced, his voice dripping with contempt.
High Council of Noble Houses has voted.
"We find your rule illegitimate. We demand your immediate abdication." Behind him, 50 warships dropped out of hyperspace, his allies all positioned perfectly around the capital world. Marcus looked up from his tablet. Took you long enough." Tegexen blinked. "What?" 3 months, Marcus said, standing up from his recliner.
I figured you would make your move after 2.
"You are slower than I expected." The chamber went silent. "You knew?" Tegexen's confidence wavered slightly. "Dude, of course I knew," Marcus said, walking toward the center of the floor. "You have been having secret meetings every Tuesday at the Azure Club on Station Meridian. You recruited the 7th Fleet Admiral 2 weeks ago. Your communications officer is named Veltrix, and she really needs to update her encryption protocols." Tegexen's face went pale. Well, paler than usual for his species. "Oh, and by the way," Marcus continued casually, "those 50 warships you just brought, check their navigation systems." There was a pause, then frantic communication chatter. "Sir," came a panicked voice over Thexan's com. "Our jump coordinates are locked. We cannot move. We cannot fire. We are just sitting here." "What?" The cone spun toward Marcus. "What did you do?" "Me? Nothing, Marcus said innocently. But that security update I sent out last week, the one that made the navigation systems more efficient? Funny thing about that, it also included a remote access protocol. You know, just in case someone tried something stupid. I felt my vocal sacs inflate with shock. You planned this? Not planned exactly, Marcus said, more like, prepared for the inevitable. Krell, you told me yourself that there have been 6 coup attempts in the last 1,000 years. I figured there would be a 7th, so I just made sure I would see it coming. The incompetence, I whispered. The casual attitude. It was all a test, Marcus finished. I needed to see who would take the bait, who would assume a human bartender could not possibly understand galactic politics, who would get so confident in their own superiority that they would make mistakes. He turned back to Thexan. And you made a lot of mistakes, buddy. Like recruiting Admiral Corvin. Did you know his daughter got a scholarship to the New Earth Cultural Exchange Program? He told me about your little recruitment pitch 2 hours after you made it. The Uxan was shaking now. This is impossible. You are human. Your species barely understands interstellar travel. Yeah, see that right there? Marcus pointed at him. That is your whole problem. You all keep assuming humans are weak because we are new to space, because we do not have fancy technology, because we wear comfortable clothes instead of ceremonial robes. He pulled up a holographic display. Messages, reports, communications, all from Thexan's conspiracy. But you know what humans are really good at? Marcus continued. Reading people, understanding psychology. We spent thousands of years surviving on a planet that kept trying to kill us. We got good at figuring out who we could trust, and who was planning to stab us in the back. You have no proof. The Exan started. I have recordings of 15 different planning meetings, Marcus interrupted. Complete transcripts, video, the works. Your guy Kale? Moth? He has been wearing a wire for 6 weeks. Turns out he did not appreciate you calling his species primitive. Kale Moth stepped forward from the crowd, nodding apologetically to Thexan. So here is what happens next, Marcus said, his voice hardening. You are going to stand down. Your co-conspirators are going to surrender, and you are all going to face trial. Fair trial, not some medieval execution. Because unlike you, I actually believe in the rule of law. And if we refuse, the Exan tried one last time. Marcus smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Then I tell the Draknor Collective that you insulted their honor by plotting against their, and I quote, magnificent human brother emperor. Thexan went very, very still. They have been looking for an excuse to test their new battle formations, Marcus added. Something about wanting to show off for their new friends. You are blackmailing me with the Draknor? The Kalesen sputtered. I prefer to think of it as creative diplomacy, Marcus replied. The fight went out of Thexan like air from a punctured hull. He collapsed into his seat, defeated. I yield, he whispered. The coup was over before it truly began. As security forces took the conspirators away, I approached Marcus. You let them think you were incompetent, I said slowly, so they would reveal themselves. Every single person who thought I was too stupid to be emperor showed their hand, Marcus confirmed. The ones who helped Thexan, purged. The ones who came to me with warnings, promoted. Now I know exactly who I can trust. That is, devious. That is survival, Marcus corrected. Humans learned a long time ago that sometimes the best weapon is being underestimated. I looked at this human, really looked at him, for the first time since he arrived. Cargo pants, casual shirt, recliner throne. And underneath it all, a strategic mind that had just outmaneuvered opponents who had centuries more experience. We are not what we appear to be, I said quietly. Nobody is, Marcus replied. That is the whole point. The news feeds exploded with the story. The human emperor who defeated a coup through preparation, intelligence gathering, and an understanding of psychology that most species took centuries to develop. The galaxy's perception shifted. Humans were not weak. They were adaptive, strategic, dangerous in ways nobody had anticipated, and they had been hiding it behind smiles and casual conversation. I returned to my quarters that night and poured myself a drink. Maybe, just maybe, humanity's greatest strength was that everyone kept assuming they did not have any. And by the time you realized your mistake, They were already 3 steps ahead. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And somehow I was okay with that. 6 months. That is how long it took for Marcus Webb to completely revolutionize galactic governance. I am sitting in my office reviewing the quarterly reports, and I cannot quite believe what I am seeing. Economic growth is up 32%. Diplomatic incidents are down 60%. Citizen satisfaction ratings have reached levels we have not seen in 3 centuries. And it is all because a human bartender decided that common sense was more important than tradition. The imperial court looks different now. Half the delegates show up in comfortable clothing. The Thorian ambassador discovered hoodies and refuses to wear anything else. The formal sessions that used to take 14 hours now wrap up in 90 minutes because Marcus banned unnecessary pontificating, as he calls it. If you cannot explain your point in 5 minutes, he declared, you do not understand it well enough. The nobility hated it. Everyone else loved it. Trade flows freely now with agreements simple enough that actual traders can understand them without hiring legal teams. Disputes get resolved through conversation rather than century-long bureaucratic processes. The Department of Actually Useful Things, as Marcus renamed the Infrastructure Division, has repaired more stations in 6 months than we managed in the previous decade. It turns out when you treat people like people instead of protocol-following automatons, they respond with enthusiasm and productivity. Who knew? Well, apparently humans knew. They had figured this out centuries ago. But they were alv and etude. Deritude. Nuditude. I am reviewing a proposal when Marcus walks into my office. He is wearing sneakers, jeans, and a shirt that says, I am not arguing, I am just explaining why I am right. Hey Krell, he says, dropping into a chair. Got a minute? For the Emperor? Always, I reply. Dude, seriously, stop calling me that. It is weird. It is your title. It is a word, Marcus counters. Anyway, I wanted to thank you. I blink all 3 of my eyes in surprise. Thank me? For what? For not quitting, he says simply. I know this has been a lot. I basically showed up and destroyed everything you believed about how government should work. But you stuck around. You adapted. And honestly, I could not do this without you. I feel something unfamiliar. Pride, maybe. Acceptance. You were right, I admit, about most of it. The protocols, the bureaucracy, the complications. We were so focused on doing things the proper way that we forgot to ask if it was the right way. To be fair, Marcus says, I am still making this up as I go. Half the time I have no idea what I am doing. Yes, but the difference is, you are willing to try new things, to fail, to learn. We had become stagnant. Marcus grins. So you are saying I am a good emperor? I am saying you are an effective one, I correct, which is somehow more terrifying. How so? I lean back in my chair, considering my words carefully. Because humans, Marcus, are dangerous. Not because you are stronger or smarter, or more advanced. You are dangerous because nobody takes you seriously until it is too late. You walk in wearing cargo pants and making jokes, and by the time we realize you have already won, the game is over. Is that a compliment? Marcus asks, amused. It is an observation, I reply. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy through force. You did it by being so relentlessly, confusingly, impossibly human, that the rest of us had no choice but to adapt to you. Marcus stands up, stretching. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds almost sinister. It is, I assure him, deeply sinister. You have weaponized casualness. He laughs, that infuriating human laugh that somehow makes everything seem less serious. Council meeting in an hour, he reminds me. Try not to wear the formal robes. It is Casual Friday, remember? I will wear whatever I please, I mutter. But I am already planning to wear the comfortable tunic. He has won, again. As Marcus leaves, I return to my reports and allow myself a small smile. The galaxy has a human emperor who rules from a reclining chair, negotiates treaties over tacos, and defeats coups through psychological warfare disguised as incompetence. And somehow, impossibly, wonderfully, it works. Because at the end of the day, humans understood something the rest of us had forgotten. Government is not about rules and protocols and traditions. It is about people. And humans, Bless their chaotic, confusing, terrifying species. Never forgot that. I raise my glass in a private toast. To Emperor Marcus Webb. May the galaxy survive his common sense.